Coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show, we break down the highlights and lowlights of the week. We tell you if it's time to press the panic button, and we preview Texas's Big 12 showdown against West Virginia. All this and more coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show.
Texas finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand.
I was watching the A&M LSU game with my father. He's an Aggie. And nothing brought me more joy. To throw the touchdown, he was like, oh no.
You heard it here first from Hunter. Book your plane tickets to Omaha today.
It's on a Saturday night. What y'all doing on Saturday night? Just come to the game.
Athletes come out and support the Longhorns. TCU doesn't have a shot against Texas in this game.
Welcome back. Welcome into the 1-0 Sports Show on this Friday morning. I'm Adam Ogburn, joined alongside by Kylie Rodriguez. Kylie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's Friday morning, ready to talk about sports.
I know, another week, man. It's flying by. Tomorrow's the first day of October.
Yes, that is crazy. I can't.
Time flies when you're having fun, unless you're in Lubbock, Texas. But anyway, we've got to start this 1-0 Sports Show like we started every week, and that is with who's hot and who's not. Kylie, let's start with you. Who's hot for you this week?
This week, I think underdog teams have been hot for me just because they've been winning a lot. Like, there's been a lot of close games, and they've, won. It came down to the last play, and the underdog team has won. So I just think they're, it's hot. Like, the Eagles being 3-0, the Dolphins being... Well, they're 3-1 now, but they had yes, exactly. They had momentum, but yeah, I mean, the underdogs team take it for me.
For sure, yeah. The Dolphins, man. The Bills not happy with that loss. You haven't seen the clip of their offensive coordinator. That is definitely worth a watch. Yeah, crazy week, man. It's especially college football. It seems like whenever you get a week where there's not a ton of ranked matchups, chaos abounds. So it's been a fun year so far this year. I'm going to stay in football for my who's hot. How about Cooper Rush to the Dallas Cowboys, the undrafted quarterback? He's 3-0 in his starts for the Cowboys, 450 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interception in his first 2 games. Pull out a kind of ugly win over the Giants on Monday night. Wasn't your best primetime football you'll ever see, but he's got another favorable matchup against the Commanders this upcoming weekend. So Dallas Cowboys are hanging around the playoff race. That was a heck of a catch by CeeDee Lamb there. So, Jerry Jones, maybe a quarterback controversy on his hands. He's going to love to kind of stoke the fire a little bit in the media with one. Let's flip to the opposite side. Kylie, who's not hot for you this week?
Who's not hot for me this week is just Texas Tech fans. Like, they won. There was no need for them to blindside any of the players. Like, they won already, and it was kind of on the Texas Tech athletics, just because they weren't good at.
This is the clip right here.
Yeah, this is the clip where they just hit it. He pushes but Texas Tech athletics should have kept the fans away from the football players, because they know it's like no one really likes UT really playing them, and when they win at home and everything and stuff like that's gonna happen. So that's not right. No team should do that, or no fan of a team should do that, whether they win or lose. So.
Yeah, that's on the home security right there. Yeah. Your first job as the home security is you always got to get the away team off the field. Yeah. It's easier in basketball because you only got 10 or 12 guys to worry about, but football you got all 60 of them, but Tech obviously failing in that regards on Saturday. Who's not hot for me? This was actually during the UT and Tech game. It was also during Clemson and Wake Forest. ESPN, what are we doing? Let's play this clip. Look at this. You're just trying to enjoy UT, Texas Tech. Oh, but wait, Aaron Judge, it's a race for 61. We're going to go split screen. We're going to miss the play and then go to a split screen to watch Aaron Judge strike out. It's so infuriating. It's like, if you want to watch the Yankees game, find the Yankees game on TV. But college football fans do not need to watch Aaron Judge in a split screen.
Yeah, no, that's kind of, if they want to watch college football, they want to watch college football. They don't want to, some people don't like baseball, and, they don't really want to hear about that. So it's like, come on, dude,
Especially with Twitter nowadays, if you want to see the highlight, it's going to be on Twitter within 30 seconds of him hitting that ball.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, ESPN, what are we doing? Apparently they're going to do it again this week, is the rumor going around. So beware if your favorite college football team is playing on ESPN or ABC on Saturday during the Yankees game.
Wait.
Our thoughts and prayers out to you. Let's move on to our bringing back an old segment. It was an old favorite of this show. Thomas and Robert loved this segment. How about Feinbaum of the week, who came out with the most outrageous saying? And it goes to Eastern Washington coach Aaron Best. He's talking about Hurricane Ian. By the way, thoughts and prayers before we roll this clip out to the people in Florida, man. It's horrific devastation. So we're going to be praying for them and definitely praying for the people out in South Carolina. But let's roll this clip on Aaron Best talking about the hurricane.
I mean, really, with what I've heard, all of the meteorologists in the world, and obviously I've watched a few of the local channels, meteorologists, not everything you hear is true. What you see is not always true either. So what I would say, and what I've been told, I don't know whether to believe it or not, those things can do some different things. So 1 hour it's this way, 1 hour it's the next way. No different than a 2 or 3 year old at the house. You know, all of a sudden they're sleeping, you feel good, before you know it they're up, and all of a sudden your plans get changed. So not really.
Yeah, probably not the best look comparing a Category 4 hurricane to whether or not your toddler wakes up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he should be talking on it. Like, he's not a meteorologist, so I don't think he should be I don't think he should be talking. He didn't go to school to do it. He's a football coach. Like, he should just coach football.
In Eastern Washington, too, man. It's not like Eastern Washington's having to deal with any hurricanes anytime soon. So they make the joke that meteorology is the only job you can be wrong 50% of the time. Still keep your job. But especially the forecasting technology, man. I would not be questioning them when they're making safety recommendations on hurricane force.
Like,
Eastern Washington coach, maybe stick to your weather up in Eastern Washington. Don't worry about Florida hurricanes. Let's move on now to what's trending. This was a very scary sight last night, too. Tagovailoa taking a dangerous hit in the Bengals game. This was after people had wondered whether they saw him stumbling around right here in this clip after the Bills. They're wondering if he was concussed here. The Dolphins said it was a back injury. He returned to this game. Then last night suffering another big hit that knocked him out of the game. He was taken off on a stretcher. So just a very scary moment. But Kylie, I mean, who's to blame on this one? There's a lot of people saying that, you know, he probably shouldn't have been on the game last night. So who's to kind of blame in your eyes?
I mean, I've kind of it's hard to say, and it's just speculation because we don't know what really happened. But I mean, I think it's kind of the the hierarchy, the staff, and the doctors. But like if he wanted to play, it's just like it's a very gray area, and like you don't know. Like I just think it's the kind of the staff and I think it's just the medical staff. Like. Yes, it was the Bills playing the Bills, and they had a chance to win. So like they were like, we just have to put him in, and he can win. But like, his health should come before that, And it might have been him. He wanted to play too, but like at some point they need to like make a business decision, you know,
exactly.
and like say, you know what, there's gonna be more games because now, thank God he was like. Released and he was able to travel and everything and so so thank God that like it didn't happen but it could have been like
for sure
he could have been like paralyzed or it could have ended his career so like I don't know who's to blame really but I mean I
think you said there almost like a business decision, a safety decision. You flashback. This is obviously a very different injury, but Colt McCoy in the 2010 National Championship game against Alabama, he had that shoulder injury. He wanted to go back in the game, but they said, no, this is what's best for your career. We don't want you to risk re-injuring it. And the same thing needed to happen with the Dolphins. Obviously, I was shocked last week that he was allowed to go back into the game after stumbling around. They were claiming it was a back injury. It certainly didn't look like that. And then putting him out in harm's way last night. I think that's got to fall. The team doctor has got to fall the head coach. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. There should have been questions after he came back in the second half of last week because that certainly didn't look like a back injury. And now last night has only multiplied those. So definitely thoughts and prayers out with Tua for a speedy recovery. A lot of investigations going to be going on around that Dolphins organization this next week or so. I joked about this and who's higher, who's not. But Aaron Judge, he did finally get that 61st homer against the Blue Jays, tied him for the all-time record in the American leagues. Obviously, the National League record much higher than all-time MLB over in the National League. But there's questions around the steroid era affecting those home runs. So. Kylie, in your opinion, how much does this 61 homers, and as he chased 62, how much does this matter in a historical perspective? Should this be kind of viewed as the all-time record?
I don't know. I kind of feel like because it pushes the standard, and so like future baseball players are gonna want to beat that, and so and because the National is so much higher, and so like kind of because like maybe they're coming there coming on par, and so I think it does, but like minus the steroid histories and everything, just you try not to look at that, but I think it matters because it just pushes the standard for the American League.
For sure. So the top top 6 are all Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. Bonds hit 73 and 01. McGwire hit 70 and 98. Sosa hit 66 and 98. All the top 6 ahead of him were all between 98 and 2001. So kind of the round where the steroid controversy, a lot of people said the MLB kind of turned a blind eye to it because it was more exciting baseball, and then afterwards kind of, wrung their finger at the players. And so I don't know. I think 61 is definitely important for Aaron Judge. I think it's something that can be kind of judged as, like you said, kind of a standard for today's players to follow. But there's even a question about, whether today's baseballs are juiced, so maybe it's easier to hit home runs. So there's a whole bunch of it. I think it's definitely important. I'm not a huge baseball fan, so I don't get like the whole cutaway from college football games into it. But definitely a huge accomplishment, one that should be honored. And with the way the steroid era is going to go, it's kind of 6 one, half dozen the other. I'd say kind of right now, like you said, that Aaron Judge is probably going to be kind of the standard moving forward of, kind of the high mark of home runs in a season. Final question. You said we had the crazy upsets last week. There's a little bit more kind of top-heavy matchups this week. There's 4 top 25 matchups. So, Kylie, which game are you looking forward to in college football the most this weekend?
I'm excited to see the Wake Forest game at Florida State, just because they're so closely ranked, and it really could go either way. It just depends who controls the ball. And I mean, it's a home game for Florida State, but I think that one's gonna be exciting because it's gonna come down to like the last play in the wire. So I'm really excited to see that game.
Yeah, Sam Hartman, the Florida State's quarterback. Jordan Travis, I'm trying to go off the top of my head. I think that one's going to be first one to 35-40 to win that one. I think there's going to be plenty of offense down there in Tallahassee. I think the ACC's actually got some great matchups because the one I'm really interested to see is number 10 North Carolina State traveling number 5 Clemson. Clemson's had some question marks. Is DJ Ugalele? Is he the man? Should be Cade Klubnik. Clemson just about survived Wake Forest last week. Now you've got a Wake Forest or NC State team ranked number 10. People are saying this may be the biggest game in NC State history. They win this one and puts them in the driver's seat for the ACC. Maybe put them on track for a playoff berth. So that's a huge game. It's going to be a tough one for NC State going to Death Valley. I think there's probably questions about the weather conditions with Hurricane Ian coming to the South Carolina area. So that could be an interesting game. It's a heck of a slate in the ACC.
Yeah, it is.
So going to be fun to watch. That wraps up. Good A block, man. A lot of going on in sports this week. And we got some more breakdown this past week in sports because when we come back, TJ Krilowicz is going to join us for the highlights of the week. You won't want to miss it. You're watching the 1-0 Sports Show. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. TJ Krilowicz joined the panel. TJ, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great. Ready to watch some highlights.
Sweet, man. Glad to have you on for your 1-0 debut.
Thank you.
Hey, let's go. Yeah, these highlights, this is always such a fun segment, getting to look at all the crazy plays and the bloopers from the past week. So, Kylie, why don't you get us started? What was your best baseball play of the week from this past week?
During the second inning on the Reds versus Pirate game, O'Neal Cruz hit the ball, and it looks like it's going to be a home run. But then it bounces back into the field, but he still brought in a runner. He brought in a runner to score, so it was a nice hit. It was a nice hit.
Yeah, he got some good power on that. It was unfortunate. That was only a single. It was only
a single. That's what I was like, dang, I thought it should have been a double.
It's those tricky ones. We can't tell it's going to be caught. Can't be a home run. No one knows exactly what to do on the base runner, especially when base is loaded. My best baseball play of the week. How about this? Former Astro Tony Kemp now in the AL West, or still in the AL West, playing for the Oakland A's. Look at this diving catch from the infield. He's going to lay out for this one. An acrobatic catch by him. Neither of these teams are that good, but that is definitely a highlight reel catch by Tony Kemp. The concentration, too. He went flying for that one. So, impressive play. He's a utility guy. Plays a little bit in the outfield, a little bit in infield. He'll pretty much do anything. And he shows off his athleticism there.
You know, I'm a big O'Neal Cruz fan. I think he's a great player. I think he has amazing potential. Maybe he'll bring the Pirates back to relevancy someday. But I think I got to go with Tony Kemp. That diving catch was just really good. You don't see a lot of good defensive plays in the MLB anymore, really. So, I mean, I'm going to go with Tony Kemp for sure.
Yeah, pretty much, because everything is either a home run or a strikeout nowadays. I know. But yeah, heck of a catch there by Tony Kemp. Let's go back into football. Best Week 3 NFL play of the week. Kylie, what you got for us?
On the Dolphins' comeback against the Bills, Tua throws a perfect long ball to Jalen Wallen, putting them at the 7-yard line. Like, look, it's so nice. it just like falls into his it falls into for him to catch it.
That was a beauty.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of people questioned too his long ball, but he put that one on the money. He let it waddle really well there. So. Me, I'm going to go over, this one didn't matter as much. This was kind of a garbage time touchdown, but Panthers and Saints, Jameis Winston taking the snap here. Look at this. He's going to lace one in here to Marquez Callaway. Look at this one-handed grab. Give me that. Just snatches away from the defenders. Look at this catch. I mean, he goes up, extends one-handed. You got Panthers defensive backs ready to intercept it. Not in Marquez Callaway's world. Great catch by him. Saints, I believe, still come up short in that one, but heck of a catch there late in the game by Marquez Callaway.
You know, as a Cowboys fan, I'm going to say that CeeDee Lamb's catch was better than both of those highlights. But I think I have to go with, did you say it was Chris Olave?
It was Marquez Callaway.
Marquez Callaway, yep. I'm going to have to go with Marquez Callaway. That's a really good catch, you know, in the end zone, making plays for sure. I do like Tua's throw, though. I think hopefully he'll get back soon. I'm praying for that. But I think just, you know, Jameis Winston put that not in the best spot, and the wide receiver got it, and I think that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Callaway doesn't snag that. I'm pretty sure it's a pick. So Jameis trying to get back to that 30 for 30 rhythm.
Many of the Winston picks that there is to come.
Yeah, you live and die by him, don't you? 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks is kind of his weekly stat line, it seems like. Let's move into college football now. Week 4 play of the week. Kylie, what do you have for us?
I have in the second quarter of Arkansas versus A&M. The Arkansas's at the 10-yard line, and Jefferson jumps, and then they get picked. Like, the ball falls out, and they pick it, and then he passes it to him, and they run for the touchdown.
That's such a heads-up play, the handoff to your defensive back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference in the game right there.
Yeah, that was because they were down 7, and so they got it.
Also, if he gets tackled at his own 20, I don't think the A&M offense is driving 80 yards to go score there. Yeah, that was a huge defensive play. You don't see too much of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go also, that was a little bit of a trick play, kind of, a little bit impromptu. This one was a little bit more of a plan, but how about this trick play that Baylor pulled out against Iowa State? We're going to go with a double reverse flea flicker, and Blake Shapen is going to find, like, a wide open, and I mean a wide open Gavin Holmes. Iowa State didn't know what the heck was going on there. That one goes to perfection. Hand off the running back, little flick, back to the quarterback, and Iowa State just absolutely loses the receiver. No one within a country mile of him. Baylor comes out with a win. Big opening win for them. TJ, 2 crazy plays there. Which one's the better one?
I think I'm going to have to go with the A&M play right there. The A&M little...
Scoop and score.
Yeah, scoop and score. That was really good. That was impressive. I think Baylor was really impressive, but Iowa State, what are they doing on defense there? I mean, that's just...
The safeties aren't going to want to see that one in film room this week. They'll be like, man,
not.
where were you? How is this dude open by 25 yards?
Yeah, I think I just like the A&M play more because it's just something that we don't see as often as the flea flicker. Double flea flicker, though. That's pretty impressive, though. I'll give Baylor that one.
Yeah, and like we said, the handoff on the fumble that probably wins in the game because that's a bonus 7 points. That one went down to the wire.
Yeah, it definitely switched the tides a little bit for sure.
For sure. Talking about going down to the wire, smooth transition. It's time for our best finish of the week. So Kylie, which game do you think had the best finish?
I chose the Colts versus Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs. Just in the fourth, they threw a touchdown in the fourth quarter, 24 seconds, and then the Chiefs get the ball, but then they intercept it, and that's game. But that one went down to the wire too, and they could have came back, but the Colts took it.
Normally, you put your money. You give Patrick Mahomes 10 seconds from the Colts 40. You give him. You put your money on him completing the pass, get a Harrison Butker a field goal attempt, but. That was a pretty shocking win. I can't believe the Colts beat the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially, I think it was the Jaguars, right? Put it on them the week before they shut them out.
Yeah, the Jaguars destroyed them. And I forgot who the other team they tied with. Was
Texans.
it the Texans?
Yeah,
it was the Texans.
Might be the only thing the Texans have go right for them this year, but there you go. So, gotta love the NFL, the parity. I'm going to go back to college football. We talked about the ACC. They got some great matchups this week. They had a great matchup last week. Clemson and Wake. If you weren't watching the Aaron Judge split screen, you got to see a great overtime action. A.T. Perry striking first, and look at this throw from Ugalele right over the top to Bo Collins. And then again, Clemson starts with the ball in double overtime. DJ Ugalele, he's going to find Davis Allen. This is basically a jump ball, just throws it at the big tight end, go and get it. That puts Clemson ahead. They don't get the 2, 51-45. Last chance for Wake Forest. Sam Hartman throws in double coverage, falls incomplete. Clemson just about survives, but this was a crazy game. The Clemson fans love it. A couple of great catches in overtime by the Tigers. They edge one out in an absolute shootout against the Demon Deacons. Heck of a finish there out in North Carolina.
Yeah, I think Clemson had the better game. I'm not going to lie. I was on the edge of my seat watching that game over the weekend. It was just so high scoring, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed. Always cheer for the underdogs. I always do. So I was a little disappointed seeing Wake Forest lose that game, but it was a really entertaining game. The quarterbacks did great for both sides. Not decrediting the Colts and Chiefs game. That was actually a really fun game too. I really enjoyed that game, but it kind of got ruined by that referee call at the end of the game for the Colts. But definitely Clemson had the better game, I think.
Gotta love the ref show, man.
I know.
Yeah, one quick side tangent though. I don't know if Clemson's a playoff team this year. ACC's gonna be fun to watch. They look beatable. They look beatable for the first time in a little bit.
Hopefully.
Let's go. We talked about some of the best highlights of the week, but let's end. Probably should end with a low light. May need to restructure the show a little bit, but we're going to end with the worst blooper of the week here. So Kylie, what you got for us?
So Tracy Morgan guest starred on the Manning
cast.
Yeah, the Manning cast.
Great invention.
And he asked Peyton Manning how it was playing against Lawrence Taylor, who is 63, and the way he reacts is it's so funny. But Manning's 46, so it's like. You gotta do some. And Tracy Morgan is a character, but still, it's just funny.
Yeah, having some fun there. I think Lawrence Taylor, all-time NFL sack leader, right? Mm-hmm. So he could play. I wouldn't want to know him as the opposing NFL quarterback, but that's just such a great invention. The Manning cast, the guests they have on, it's a fun watch. So I think it was a go-to, especially when the Monday Night Football broadcaster is not as good.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, definite improvement over what they've had the past couple of years. For mine, I'm going to go to college football again, SEC. Missouri, if you want to know how to choke a game, Missouri wrote a wonderful textbook for it last week against Auburn. They missed a 26-yard field goal. They would have won it in regulation, and then they do this in overtime. Breaking through, this is Nathaniel Pete. He's going to go, looks like he's going to score, and he loses the ball. Watch this replay. He doesn't even get hit. He's trying to stretch out for the end zone. He just loses the football. He just drops it. And not only that, so they missed the 26-yard field goal. Auburn starts with the ball first. Auburn misses a field goal in overtime, but Missouri's offside, so Auburn gets a second attempt. They make it, and then Missouri, on their last chance, they're going to win, and they do that. They blew that game in 3 different plays. That one was probably the toughest to watch. Oh, Missouri, what are we doing?
Yeah, Missouri, it was so embarrassing. I'm not even a Missouri fan. I have no, I don't like Missouri at all. But I felt so embarrassed for them. If I was that running back, I wouldn't show my face on campus for the whole week. I'm not going to lie. I think I have to go with Missouri here. It's just, I was watching that game live, and it was just awful. It was so cringy just to watch them just blow that lead. I was hoping they would beat Auburn too. Yeah. So a little disappointed there by Missouri.
And the bad news, Missouri's playing this week?
Who are they?
The Georgia Bulldogs, man. So that may have been the best chance for a week or two to get in the win column.
It's over for them. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, TJ, thanks for coming on. Don't worry, though. TJ's going to be back in a couple blocks. He's going to come do the pick'ems with us. So we'll get to predict. We're not predicting Georgia, Missouri, man. We're all going to say our money's on Georgia for that one. But we'll take great games to pick you in a couple blocks. But when we come back, it's time for a new 1-0 segment. Kylie and I are going to go to the panic meter telling you what are we concerned about and what's no sweat. That's coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. It's time to head over to the panic meter. We've got 4 questions upcoming. Kylie and I are going to tell you whether it's time to panic whether we should wait and see or whether we're not sweating it at all. So, got to start off with the big development last Saturday. Texas going up to Lubbock, shocked by Texas Tech, blowing yet another second-half lead. Stop me if you've heard that story before. And then losing in overtime eventually on a short Texas Tech field goal. So, Kylie, is it time to panic for the Longhorns? Where are you at on the panic meter?
I'm going to say wait and see because, yes, they lost. But, I mean, I wouldn't start panic. Like, it's way too early to panic because I think if they lose this West Virginia game, I think it's going to be like, okay, maybe that's a little panic because we're already 2 games in. And, you know, like, then we have the big Oklahoma game next week. And so, like, it's just, it could stumble into something that they don't want to, like, they can have a losing record again if they, like, lose this game. But if they win, I just think we need to wait and see how everything plays out this game and then Oklahoma next week and Iowa State. You know, just we need to pause for a minute and just let's see how they produce or if they don't, and then we'll assess from there.
Yeah, I agree with you on wait and see. I think if they lose this week, I'm detonating the panic button because their season is going to go off the rails. I think they're going to struggle to get to a bowl game. I think if they lose this week, I think the wheels could very easily come off. But you look, they were without Quinn Ewers, they were without DeMarvion Overshown. The very first play of that VO was the Texas Tech quarterback Donovan Smith kind of driving Tucker Dorsey into the end zone. I think Overshown maybe makes that tackle. So this is a Texas team missing some key pieces. But man, Steve Sarkisian, he's got to stop being so conservative in the second half. Texas gets up by 2 scores, and all the motion, all the creativity we see just goes away. They let teams back in the game. That's exactly what they did against Tech. They didn't keep their foot on the gas. So wait and see. They can right the ship this week in that Oklahoma game. I think will tell a lot about where this Longhorn season is going. So we're going to wait and see, but I think we're going to learn a lot more here by the time that Oklahoma game wraps up at 3 o'clock next Saturday. Talking about Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12 saw both teams lose on their opening conference weekend. If you're hoping for a Big 12 playoff bid, Kylie, where are you at on the panic meter?
I said just no, like, since it's the first week, I don't think there's really anything to worry about yet. I think now, like, since we're 1 week in, like, they can assess, they can fix it, and then they can choose what to do in the couple. But, like, this week, I just don't think it's not really anything to worry about. I mean, there's still a lot of conference play to be played. And so I just, and I, you know, like, sometimes it could be a fluke. Like, they lose or they're not, they underestimate the competition or something, or they don't, like, put their foot on the gas and they see, oh, we need to do that. So I just think, I just think there's a lot of conference play to be left, and we just got to see. So
I'm on the opposite. I'm panicking here because here's the issue with the Big 12. There's so much parity in the conference. Arguably, your 2 biggest brands go out and lose in the first week of conference play to 2 of the lesser teams. I think Kansas State actually might be pretty good. Oklahoma's defense is a little bit concerning. Kansas State quarterback Adrian Martinez had a field day. Texas should never lose to Texas Tech. So now you got, you know, Kansas is undefeated. I think Baylor's lost to BYU. So maybe Kansas, maybe Oklahoma State is who you're looking at now. I just think there's too much parity in the Big 12 because a 2-loss Big 12 champion is not getting in the playoffs because Georgia and Alabama are going to take 2 slots from the SEC. You're going to have Ohio State from the Big 10. And then you probably got one of USC or maybe the ACC. I think losing in week 1 really hurts the Big 12's chances, or Texas and Oklahoma losing, just because there's so much parity. I think it's going to be hard for these teams to get out of conference unscathed without another loss somewhere. I think the Big 12 is in trouble. I think it's going to be a really fun conference to watch. It's going to be a really competitive conference, but I don't think that bodes well for a 14 playoff. So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. Let's travel across the pond. U.S. men's national team, they laid an egg in their 2 final pre-World Cup friendlies against Japan and Saudi Arabia. Lost to Japan 2-0, tied Saudi Arabia unconvincingly 0-0. Kylie, where are you at on the panic button on that one?
I'm at the panic button just because Japan was ranked, like, 10 under them, and they lost. They didn't lose, like, 1-0. They lost 2-0. So, like, if they can't win the games they're supposed to, how are they going to win the games that are going to be close or that are like, oh, they're not favored as much? Like, so and it's the World Cup's in 52 days. Like, how are they going to fix that so close? And, you know, Christian Pulisic has been kind of a question. Like, last in the Saudi Arabia game, he took his armband and threw it off at Tyler Adams to switch, and he didn't even, like, talk to
Berhalter.
Berhalter. Coach Berhalter. So I don't know, like that might cause tension, and there's a lot of
I'm a little bit panicky too, man. I think I've always kind of questioned Greg Berhalter. You know, the U.S. They did enough in World Cup qualifying, but they weren't always convincing. At times they had an ugly loss away to Canada. Costa Rica, they were already pretty much in, but they really had an ugly loss down there. They tied at home against Canada. You know, I just don't know with Berhalter. You know, you wonder, Christian Pulisic has been a bit of a funk, hasn't been getting a ton of playing time with Chelsea. This team doesn't have a defined number 9 goal scorer, which is okay if you can rely on your wingers, Pulisic and Reyna. Reyna went off injured. We'll see where Timothy Weah goes. There's just a lot of question marks surrounding this U.S. team, and the fact they could barely get a shot on target, didn't get one against Japan, could barely get one against Saudi Arabia. Man, there's some questions. The one nice thing is the U.S. has a much easier group, I think, this time around than they did in 2014. That 2014 group with Germany, Portugal, and Ghana was brutal. You would expect them to beat Iran. I think, honestly, you expect them to beat Wales. They have a much easier group, and I think England's not a bad draw either. I don't think they've ever lost to England at a World Cup. But just really unconvincing friendlies, because especially Saudi Arabia, I mean, that's kind of comparable to Iran. Those are teams you should be beaten by a goal or two. So they're going to have to figure it out. So we'll see what Berhalter does in the coming month or two. But it's tough. There's no more breaks, really. It's just that training camp right before the World Cup starts. So we'll see how that goes. San Francisco, meanwhile, final question going back across the pond to American football. They were seen as a dark horse in the NFC, but now Trey Lance is injured. They lost an ugly 11-10 game to the Denver Broncos. Is it time to panic for the 49ers if you want to see them in the playoffs contending?
I said no. I don't think it's time to panic because Jimmy Garoppolo, they only lost by like 1 point. So like their defense and everything was holding up, and Jimmy Garoppolo will have 8.5 million reasons to start producing wins. So I don't think, and you know, like they lost at the Bears when Trey Lance was playing. So like I don't think it's like no sweat. I don't think there's not a time to panic. There's a lot of still of NFL play left, and so.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of wait and see on that one. I don't think you're exactly no sweat. I don't. You know, 10-11, it's not a convincing win. Garoppolo threw for 211 yards, touchdown, interception. But I think also you kind of bring up a good point. I see why you're not necessarily sweating. This is a very run-heavy San Francisco team. Now, they are without Elijah Mitchell. But I think Jeff Wilson has proven himself is a very capable backup. They need to keep Deebo Samuel healthy because he's kind of their jack of all trades. So it'll be interesting to see there. But I'm going to say no sweat just yet. I mean, this is the 49ers team that got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. And Jimmy G was not really leading them there. He's more kind of a system, kind of a game manager guy. So they've gotten the quarterback with the Super Bowl with Jimmy G as their quarterback before. So I'm not panicking just yet, but I'm not saying no sweat. You know, that 11-10 is an ugly game. He makes a terrible mistake stepping out of the back of the end zone. Let's see how it goes, though. They blew out the Seahawks with him. They play the Rams this week, so we'll learn a lot about that. It's a big NFC West matchup. The Rams have some question marks, too, about how Matthew Stafford's been. So we'll learn a lot more there. So I'm going to kind of wait and see. We'll see how Week 4 goes for them. Now let's stay in the NFL. Time for our NFL Power Rankings. Kylie, let's start with you. Who's your top 4 NFL teams after Week 3?
I had the Eagles just because Jalen Hurts and the offense have been great in these last games, and their defense had 9 sacks against the Commanders. And I put them first because they're firing on all cylinders, and I believe they will continue this. You know, I also put the Dolphins at 2. But I think they can still make it with Teddy Bridgewater because, like, last night he showed that he's capable, and they still have Eric Ezekiel-Mama, who ran the 40-yard dash. He's a rookie.
Oh, yeah, the tech guy.
Yeah, and he ran it in 4.53. So if Teddy Bridgewater works on, like, passing, he can pass it to him. And so, I think they've been really good for the past 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and then I put the Buffalo Bills out there just because the loss to the Dolphins. But I think they're still a powerhouse with, like, their defense and their offense. They just got outplayed at Miami, but I still think they can, like, make it to the AFC Championship and maybe even the Super Bowl. And then I just put the Packers at my 4th spot because they finally did. They finally won against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think they can be a real contender for the NFC, championship. And, that's my top 4.
Credit to Aaron Rodgers because they gave nothing to work with. He's got great backfield. He's got nothing to work with the receiver. Because Sammy Watkins is banged up. He's off to his usual early season start and then tanks pretty quickly. For me, I've got the Bills at number 1. I know they lost that close from the Dolphins, but just off the eye test, I think Josh Allen and them, I think they're the best team in football right now. Eagles, though, They've been hot with Jalen Hurts. He was a great fantasy quarterback last year and a terrible not terrible actual quarterback. His accuracy was not great last year. He looks like the complete deal this year. You see the growth over the offseason. That Eagles team's going to be dangerous, especially the Cowboys playing their backup right now. I got the Ravens in there at number 3. Lamar Jackson just keeps making plays. They had that. Really, they should be the Dolphins. They let that one slip away, but it wasn't on Lamar. That offense, I think, can hang with anybody. They put 37 past the Patriots last week. And I got the Chiefs at number 4. I know they had that weird loss to the Colts, but before that, they blew out the Cardinals, and they won a tight game against the Chargers, a very good Chargers team. So I think this kind of shows, for me, I think the AFC is a much stronger conference right now. I think it's more top-heavy, and so that's why I got 3 of the 4 teams there. But the Bucs and Packers, I think, especially when you get playoff team time, never count them out with the quarterbacks they got. When we come back, we got a treat for y'all. Zach Anderson from West Virginia Student Newspaper, he's going to join the show. He's going to help us break down the big matchup at DKR tomorrow night. That's coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Man, we got a treat. Join us all the way from West Virginia, Daily Athenaeum sports editor, Zach Anderson. Zach, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on today.
Yeah, for sure, man. Fired up to have you on. Let's talk a little Big 12 football. Obviously, West Virginia, y'all didn't get off to the start necessarily that y'all wanted to in conference play with that tough loss to Kansas, but kind of sitting at 2-2 now. You've had that big win against Virginia Tech last time out. How's the mood kind of around the West Virginia football program, around campus, and around Morgantown 4 games into the season?
I would say 4 games in, the spirits are definitely higher than they were after that Week 2 loss to Kansas. I mean, I would say some fans kind of checked out after that game. Went to overtime. JT Daniels threw a pick 6 to end it. I think a lot of people kind of checked out after that game, but now, after taking a win at Lane Stadium on primetime TV, I think the spirits are definitely higher now than they were going into this Texas game. So.
Your Mountaineers are coming off an impressive win over Virginia Tech last Thursday night. Were you expecting that command of a victory? And what stood out to you about the team's performance in that win?
I have to be honest, I wasn't exactly expecting us to go in and dominate Virginia Tech in their own house. I mean, that was an electric stadium. I was there, and I got to see the atmosphere. I got to see Enter Sandman and all that. And it's a great atmosphere they put on at Virginia Tech there. But I didn't really expect us to go in and dominate on both sides of the ball like we did. When it comes to what impressed me, I think the offense really controlled the game. Like Neil Brown said post-game, the offense had like 38 minutes of possession, and the defense had a pick 6 that basically sealed the game. So I think both those things went hand in hand, and it was a really balanced attack for us down there.
Yeah, no, that score definitely caught my eye last Thursday. I was impressed with that. And Enter Sandman, definitely one of the best traditions I feel like in college football. So it's always fun to watch that, especially on primetime at night. Next question for you. Obviously, you talked a little bit about Neil Brown there. It's his 4th season. There have been no more than 6 wins, though, for the Mountaineers in a single season under Brown. So kind of sitting at 2-2 right now. Do you feel like this West Virginia program is making progress, under Brown? And kind of what are your realistic expectations for how many games you think the Mountaineers can end up winning this year?
I think this season, definitely, we've made more progress than we have in the past under Brown. Especially Brandon and JT Daniels to lead that team, and Brandon Graham Harrell from USC, a former NFL quarterback, as our offensive coordinator. I think we've made more progress this season, even sitting at 2-2, than we have in the past. And I think a realistic win margin, I mean, I predicted earlier in the season, I predicted us winning 8 games, but I think I might say 7 games now just because of how we performed in the first 2. I expected us to win both those first 2, so that's why I'm kind of changing my prediction now. But I think this Texas game really is going to be a big game for Neil Brown. I mean, the Texas game, I think, will come down for a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a deciding game for Brown, definitely, under this season. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of parity in the Big 12, so it's going to be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm talking about JT Daniels. He's obviously a very experienced quarterback. Does he have what it takes, in your opinion, to lead this West Virginia team to big wins in Big 12 conference that has a lot of parity?
Yeah, I definitely think he does. Excuse me. He's a really talented quarterback, arm talent. Just from watching him in the first 4 games, he's got the arm talent to play anywhere. And leading this offense, it all needs to come together with him. You know, I mean, if he's under pressure or if he's throwing on the run, we know he's going to make the throw, and he has the arm talent to do that. It's just the offense kind of needs to be around him to win the big games and to really control the game. So really the offensive line needs to play better, and I think the receivers also need to play better alongside him.
Yeah, for sure. And, you kind of talked a little bit about some of the receivers there, but kind of looking at both sides of the ball, who do you think are a couple players that, Texas really needs to keep an eye on? Kind of which Mountaineers are you looking to have big games tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think, obviously Daniels and Bryce Ford-Wheaton, their connection has been deadly this season. But for breakout players, I would definitely say Sam James, wide receiver Sam James. He had a big game against Virginia Tech. He caught a touchdown pass, 28-yard touchdown pass early in that game. And I think he could really have a breakout game with his kind of a speed and his mix of speed and hands he has. And then on defense, I'm thinking Jared Bartlett. He's a defensive lineman. He's not a very well-known guy when it comes to the country, but he plays in our unique bandit position in our defense, and I think he could really make a big impact there rushing the passer. So I think those two guys could definitely have a big game against Texas, and we're going to need them to.
Going off that, give me a key to victory for West Virginia and a key to victory for Texas if they want to beat West Virginia.
So I was thinking about this before you guys had me on, and I definitely think the big key for Texas will be to pressure JT Daniels and to force him to make mistakes. And I think really that offensive line is going to be put to the test against Texas's defensive line, and I think they'll need to pressure Daniels a lot to kind of get him uncomfortable and make mistakes. And then for us against Texas, I think we have to stop the run. I mean, Bijan Robinson and the offense, they can control the game if they just run the ball over our defense. So we really need to control the defensive front and slow down that running game.
Yeah, for sure. JT Daniels hasn't had a ton of success. I believe it was now 5 years ago, I think, when he came down here with USC, and the Longhorns really took them kind of to the woodshed. He was just a freshman then, a senior now. Yeah. And so, Zach, we're going to put you on the spot. Does JT Daniels come down? Does he get his revenge against Texas, or do the Longhorns come out on top? What's your prediction for tomorrow's game?
That's tough to ask on the spot, but I think I talked to a girl from Texas's student newspaper earlier this week, and I have to stick with my prediction I gave her. I gave her a close WVU win on the road, and I think it's going to come down to a shootout. I feel like our offense is going to be able to perform down the stretch. I think we'll get enough stops against the run game. I think we'll be able to do that, and I think we can take a close win at Texas.
Is that Jordan Mitchell you spoke to?
Yes, Jordan Mitchell. That's her name. Sorry.
Yeah. No, she's a good friend of the show. We rope her up here once or twice a semester, it seems like. But, yeah, that's not a bad call, man. I'd say at least on the shootout part. We may not agree on the Texas-West Virginia, but it seems like these Big 12 games, man, it's usually a good bet that they're going to hit the over.
I have to stick with my guys, I have to stick with my guys.
It's going to be a heck of a game. I think one thing we can both agree on, Zach, before we let you go, there's a lot of parity in this conference.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, the Big 12 has more parity now than I've seen in a long time. I mean, with Kansas State beating Oklahoma last weekend and Texas Tech beating Texas last weekend, I mean, there's a lot of parity top to bottom.
For sure. And Kansas is apparently good at football now.
Yeah. If Kansas is undefeated, I didn't even think about that, so there you go.
Oh, man, gotta love it. It's definitely going to be a good one under the lights at DKR tomorrow night. Zach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, man. I'm glad to have you on.
Of course, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
For sure. Well, when we come back on the 1-0 Sports Show, TJ's going to rejoin the panel, and we'll pick 10 games from the college football slate this weekend. You won't want to miss it. You're watching the 1-0 Sports Show. Yeah, let's just run through these picks a little bit quicker. Just like this answer too. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show for the final time on this Friday morning. TJ, good to have you back on.
Glad to be back on.
Let's get into our pick-ems. So before we get into the 10 games, guys, let's quickly give an underdog of the week. Who's pulling off an upset? Kylie, let's start with you.
I think SMU can win against UCF just because they're equally matched and they can score. Like SMU can score, and I don't know if UFC can handle it. So.
For me, I'm going to go, I think this game's tonight actually, San Diego State, Boise State. I'm going to take the Aztecs over the Broncos. Boise State, they got beat by UTEP last time out, 27-10. I think San Diego State can go up there. It's going to be an ugly game. Hit the under on this. I don't even know what the over-under is. I think the final score is going to be like 17-13. So give me San Diego State over Boise State in an ugly defensive battle. TJ, what's your upset?
And I'm going to go with UCLA over Washington. I think that Washington is one of the top 25 teams that can fall this week, potentially. UCLA's 4-0. They struggled a little bit. They've been playing easy opponents, but I think overall that they have a chance with their home crowd.
The fighting Chip Kellys.
No doubt about that.
All right, let's get into the pick'ems of the week. Big SEC. We talked about earlier, we got 4 top 25 matchups this week. Let's start in the SEC. Number 7, Kentucky, traveling to take on number 14, Ole Miss. TJ, who do you have in that one?
I believe they're both undefeated, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ole Miss, I got to go with Ole Miss here. I think Ole Miss's offense has been amazing so far this year. Kentucky also is they're doing really good.
Yeah.
I just can't see Kentucky as a football team still, no matter how good they do. But I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
I can't believe Kentucky's ranked number 7, but I'm going to go with Kentucky. I'm going to ride that high ranking. I like Will Levis, their quarterback. I think they'll hang on. I think it's going to be a close victory, but I think they squeak one out. Levis makes 1 or 2 plays to pull one out in the end.
Okay.
I'm gonna go against that, and I'm gonna go with Ole Miss, just because the Wildcats' offensive line is not the strongest. Last week against Northern Illinois, they were able to register 5 sacks. Now Ole Miss has better talent, they have better athletes, they have better defense. I don't know if they'll be gonna be able to hang with Ole Miss. So I'm going for Ole Miss.
Let's go back into the Big 12, number 18, Oklahoma, traveling over to Fort Worth, take on the TCU Horned Frogs. Kylie, who do you have in that one?
I think Oklahoma wins because their offense, they're able to score. And the 2 wins TCU has, they didn't really deal with an explosive offense like Oklahoma, and they've been kind of 2 easy road wins.
Are you questioning Tarleton State and Colorado?
Yes, I am. There's a question if you don't question them, okay?
For sure,
but yes,
for sure.
that's all I'm saying. So I think Oklahoma's going to be a little different. It's not something they're used to, and I think Oklahoma wins it.
Yeah, I think the worst news for TCU is that Oklahoma lost last week, and this is going to be a fired-up OU squad. TCU might be, as much as parity as theirs, they may be one of the worst teams in the Big 12 this year. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Oklahoma takes care of business. I think Daniel Gabriel makes enough plays.
Oklahoma's doing good. I don't see them losing 2. Just kidding. I'm going TCU. I'm going TCU. Why? Because why not? The Horned Frogs. Go Horned Frogs. I think, their offense has been one of the best in FBS this year, definitely in the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think, like what you were saying last block, the parity in the Big 12 is crazy this year. I think TCU has a chance for sure.
It's going to be a crazy game up there. And OU proved they can't stop a running quarterback, so we'll see what Max Duggan or Chandler Morris does against them. Let's stay in the Big 12. How about the team that knocked off Oklahoma last week, Kansas State? They're playing host to Texas Tech at 11 o'clock. TJ, who do you have in that one?
I'm going Kansas State. I think Tech, they're doing good. They're doing good, but I think Kansas State's the more skilled team. 41 points against Oklahoma is not easy. Yeah. So I think Kansas State's going to win this.
Great pick, TJ. Adrian Martinez had nearly 400 yards of offense, 5 total touchdowns last week against Oklahoma. He's having a field day against this Tech defense. Give me Kansas State at home.
Yeah, I took Kansas State too as well because, the Texas Tech defense struggled a bit with the run against Texas with B.J. Robinson and the run. So I don't think Kansas State has too much offensive power for them to cover it. So yeah, I'm going with Kansas State.
Oregon State narrowly pulled off my upset pick and knocked off USC last week, and it was close. USC pulled out a 17-14 win. This week they're traveling over to Utah to take on the number 12 Utes. Kylie, who do you have in that one?
I have Utah because they lead the Pac-12 in total defenses, and it's at home, and the game against USC. Oregon State turned the ball over a lot, and that's how they scored. So I'm going with the UTEPs.
That was the mistake. Chance Nolan, the Oregon State quarterback. He had 4 interceptions last week. I picked Utah to win the Pac-12 on our first show this season, so I'm going to stick with that. Give me Cam Rising, who I believe is a Texas transfer, the Utah quarterback. 262 touchdowns last week against a terrible Arizona State team. Utah takes care of business against Oregon State at home this week. TJ?
Yeah, I think there's really I don't think there's any discussion. I think Oregon State played well. I think they are a good team, but I think Utah just they're the powerhouse of the Pac-12 right now. They're doing really good, and I think Utah wins it.
This used to be an amazing basketball matchup. Now apparently it's a great football matchup. Iowa State traveling to Lawrence to take on the Kansas Jayhawks, the undefeated Kansas Jayhawks. 2:30 ESPN2. TJ, who do you have in that one?
You know, it's a shame that Kansas isn't ranked right now. I know everyone's saying it, but come on. It's because they're in the Big 12. If they're in the SEC, they would be ranked top 10 already.
Yeah.
I think, these are two teams from the outside looking in on being a good team in the Big 12. I think Kansas, you gotta go with Kansas here. I think you got to keep the undefeated streak going, you know?
Great pick. I love the Kansas offense. Jalen Daniels, that's what's going to win them the game. They're going to outscore Iowa State and Lawrence. They're going to send the home fans home happy. That's going to make them 5-0 on the year.
Man.
Yeah.
What a world.
What
a world we live in. I think
what have we gone to?
It'll be the most wins. I think this is the first 4-win season since 2009. Crazy times up in Kansas.
Crazy, yeah.
Kylie?
I'm going with Kansas too, just because they're so offensive. Like, their offense is just so good. And they're at home, so, like, it's going to be a crazy crowd, and they're undefeated. So, like, the fans are going to want it more, and, like, there's going to be sellout, not sellout, but, like, all the Kansas fans are going to go and, like, want to win. And so I'm going with them. And because Iowa's defense might slow down scoring, but I don't think, just because Kansas is so good on offense, I don't think they're going to do much damage to Kansas.
For sure. Let's stay in the Big 12. A lot of good Big 12 matchups this week. Number 9, Oklahoma State traveling to take on number 16, Baylor, 2:30 on Fox. Kylie, who do you have in that one?
I have OK State, because the way if Baylor plays the way they did last week against Iowa State, they will lose. Because the Pokes have too much talent on offense that will give Baylor defense problems, and it will ultimately lead to an Oklahoma State win.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Oklahoma State, they've played no one. They've played Central Michigan, Arizona State, who is up there with Colorado, is the worst Power 5 team this year. And Arkansas, Pine Bluff, but I think this Oklahoma State team, they got an explosive offense led by Spencer Sanders. So give me the Pokes. I think they're going to outscore Baylor. I think this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be a tight shootout, but I'm feeling like a 38-35, 35-31 type victory for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think just like what you said, I think it's a shootout, but I think Oklahoma State, I think they're still a little salty over losing the Big 12 championship to Baylor last year. So I think they come out with a little more passion than Baylor. I think they pull it out as well.
Wake Forest, number 22, Wake Forest taking on number 23, Florida State. That one 2:30 on ABC, big ACC matchup. TJ, who do you have in that one?
I got to go Wake Forest. I think Florida State is there. I think they're doing good, but they're just not like. I think Wake Forest is the better team here. I think they almost beat Clemson. Clemson's top 10, and I think they beat Florida State here.
It's my first time to get to do this. I'm going to say not so fast on that one. I like Jordan Travis and Florida State. I think if this is in Wake comes out with a win. I think the home crowd can make a difference in this one. I'm going to go Knowles. This is going to be a tight one, though. This is going to be a 38-35 type game. It's going to be a high-scoring one, but I like Jordan Travis and that Florida State offense. I think they make enough plays to edge Wake Forest at home, and I think Clemson's overrated, too. I'll throw that to you in there.
I think Wake Forest is going to win just because they came off a hard-fought battle against Clemson. They're going to want to, win, they're going to want to win because they should have won the other game. So they're going to be like, well, we're just going to give it all this time. And they have a good passing attack, and I think they can pull it out. And Wake Forest has won the last 2 meetings between schools, but hasn't defeated Florida State in Tallahassee since 2008.
Look at Kylie digging into the history books.
Yeah.
I know, fun fact.
There you go. Maybe some fun facts here. Number 17, Texas A&M, pulling off a big win against Arkansas last week. They'll travel to Starkville, take on Mike Leach's Mississippi State, 3 o'clock on the SEC Network. Kylie, who do you have in that one?
I actually have Mississippi State win because their defense showed strong showings last week, and they have a hostile home field advantage. So, Texas A&M may not be able to communicate, and Texas A&M is dead last in the SEC in these 4 games for scoring. So,
That, I think, is the stat of the day right there. That's why I'm picking the Bulldogs, too. I think Will Rogers in the Mississippi State offense can outscore the A&M offense. I think another big storyline, Anaya Smith, the top A&M receiver, out for the year due to injury. That's another big blow to an already dreadful offense. So give me Mississippi State at home in Starkville. They're going to outscore the Aggies.
Yeah, I think A&M's going to be really desperate here. I think it's going to be a close game, but I honestly think that A&M's going to pull it out. They have the talent. They just need to put the pieces together, honestly. Jimbo's going to be real desperate, you know. What Jimbo needs to win this game for him to have some job security in College Station for sure.
Now back to the ACC, number 10, North Carolina State at number 5, Clemson. TJ?
Got to go Clemson here. I think Clemson is not as good as they have been recently. I also think NC State is just they're a little off to me. I'm not the biggest fan of NC State. They beat Tech by 13 points at home, which seems not that good for a top 10 team, really, to be honest. And Clemson's also won the last 8 matchups. I think they win this.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Tech is one of the best teams in college football. Did you not see them in the fourth quarter last week?
No. I try not to.
No, I agree. I think NC State actually is a little bit overrated. They barely beat East Carolina, and they beat up on Charleston Southern and UConn, too. So we don't know a ton about this team. I think playing in Death Valley, I think Clemson comes out on top in this one. I'll take Clemson by about, I think, 7 points to 10 points kind of there. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I just don't think NC State's the team to beat them. I think Clemson's beatable, but it's not going to be from NC State on the road.
Well, no, I'm just kidding. I think Clemson's going to win, too, just because their offensive line gives their quarterback DJ, enough time to, like, get the ball out. And so I don't think NC State's traveling to Clemson, and, like, it's a home game, and everyone goes there, you know. So I don't think the NC State can pull off the upset.
Final pick of the week. West Virginia traveling to Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns tomorrow night. 6:30 on FS1. Zach picked West Virginia, guys. What are we thinking? Kylie, who do you have?
I have Texas winning because I don't think West Virginia can stop the run, like stop Bijan or any. So, and Texas has more offensive talent than West Virginia, I think. I don't think I think it's going to come back. They can't stop the run, and so I think Texas takes it. And they're at home at DKR. It's a night game, so everyone loves those.
I think that's the key. Kansas put 55 on West Virginia. I think this Texas team can put a lot of points up on the board. I think Bijan and Rochon are going to have some more room to run tomorrow. And I think Quinn Ewers might get the start. That's kind of what we're thinking. I think maybe start going to try to throw him out there, get a little bit of field time for OU. So I think Texas, this is their get-right game. I think they win this one at home against a West Virginia team that's probably in the bottom 3 of the Big 12 based on talent.
I mean, what's the point of being a fan if you're not going to pick your team to win? I mean, I might as well go Texas as well. I think they bounce back here. I think they're going to show why they were ranked before the Tech game. And as soon as they hear the DKR crowd, I think they're going to they're going to pull it together for sure.
Should be fun to watch tomorrow night. Big game. Well, Kylie, TJ, thank you all for coming on this morning. This was a lot of fun. Big shout to CC Rodriguez. She's keeping us in line here in the studio. Samantha Pearl over in Master Control, making all the graphics and videos come on up. We really appreciate the work she put in there this morning. Make sure you tune in next week at 10 a.m. We'll have a UT-OU special for you. Hope a couple special interviews as we get ready for the big Red River rivalry game. And be sure to check out our sister shows, College Press Box on Monday nights at 9:30 and College Crossfire hosted by Tommy Yarish on Wednesday nights at 9. For all of us here in the 1-0 Sports Show, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.